protection lawyer. I also deal with startup advisory. I work with a law firm in New Delhi. It's been 3 years now since I'm practicing law. That's my introduction, and now I shall begin with the session. So, today we'll be talking about regulatory framework for startups in India. So, before we begin with the session, I would like to discuss what are the eligibility criteria set by the Government of India for the startups under the startup schemes. Firstly, the startup need to be registered in under Startup India scheme. Only then they are eligible for other benefits that the government offer. The registration and the incorporation we'll be discussing further in the session. Then the second requirement is that the turnover shall not exceed 100 crores annually. Then the third requirement is that the startup should be focusing towards innovation, development, or improvement of any existing or new product or service. And the fourth requirement is that the startup should be capable of generating employment and wealth. In today's session we will be talking about three heads. One is legal structure for startups, second is legal compliance for startups, and third are the government schemes for startups. So the legal structure for startups. It doesn't matter whether you are on an organized growth trajectory or are just starting. The legal structure would serve as an essential part of running a business. Every company in our country must be registered under the Companies Act 2013. For this purpose, every establishment must understand its options and have a legal structure that is permitted by the Indian government. One must choose the legal structure that suits their business. Following are the common types of business structures prevalent in India and their notable features that shall help in deciding the best legal structure for the proposed entity. A sole proprietorship is an enterprise that is completely controlled by one person. There is no formal registration necessary to start a business in India under sole proprietorship. While it is easy to register this entity, the proprietor shall bear all liabilities. Also, the entire profit is in hands of the owner. In this structure, there are no separate tax returns that are to be filed, and the income incurred by the proprietor must be disclosed in the personal income tax return itself. It is recommended to opt for this legal structure for the following benefits. First is the cost effective. This kind of legal structure barely involves any cost. However, conducting a business in a separate area would require certain specific registrations like shops and establishments, registrations, etc. Now, there is flexibility in decision making as it is solely dependent on the proprietor. Therefore, there are easy to make and implement. The third one is workplace relationship. It is essential to make and maintain relationships with employees and customers in sole proprietorship. The proprietor is capable of ensuring strong one-on-one relations with both respectively. A few examples of sole proprietorships are Flipkart and Snapdeal. They started their business as sole proprietorship companies in India. Next, we'll talk about private limited company. As per Section 2 of Companies Act, a private company is defined as a company with minimum paid up share capital and which by its articles transfer rights to restrict right to transfer the shares. Most startups and business in India with higher ambitions choose private limited company as a suitable business structure. A private limited company enjoys the following benefits. Firstly, it is a separate legal entity. A private limited company is said to be a separate legal entity. An entity means something which has a legal existence. Therefore, the company can sue and can be sued under its name. Also, the company enjoys the legal rights. Second is borrowing capacity. A private limited company enjoys the privileges of borrowing more funds than the limited liability partnerships as it has more options for taking on debt. The bank and other financial institutions welcome private limited companies better than the partnership entities. Also, it's easy to exist. Private limited companies can be sold or transferred either partially or in full to another individual or entity without any disruption to the current business. Then, its continuous existence, the company's existence remains unaffected by the death or resignation of any member. Then comes complete possession of property. The shareholder cannot claim to be the owners of the property of the company. The owner itself is the owner. Then comes dual relationship. A person in the private limited company can be a shareholder, employee, director at the same time. A few examples of private limited company are Anand Automotive Private Limited and Parley Private Limited. They are quite famous companies. You must have heard about them. Then comes public limited companies. Public limited companies, they are incorporated under, oh, sorry, we are talking, and I'm so sorry. We were talking about limited liability partnership, right? So the limited liability partnership is incorporated under the Limited Liability Partnership Act. Unlike partnership firms, partnership in a limited liability partnership are not burdened with unlimited liabilities caused by the business. Their responsibilities towards losses or debts are limited to investments made by them. A limited liability partnership and its partners are considered separate legal entities. Further, no partner is liable on account of the independent actions of other partners. Thus, individual partners are safe to shielded from joint liabilities upon commission of another partner's misconduct. The other benefits of the limited liability partnership are: firstly, we have talked about limited liability, then number of members. Yeah. A public limited company has been defined under Companies Act. A public limited company is formed by minimum 7 persons with a minimum paid up capital. Also, the company may get listed in the stock exchange and therefore shares of the same are traded openly. There are more legal restrictions on this type of establishments than any other, only because the citizens uh, are also sharing the shares of the company. Now, a few benefits of public limited company are: firstly, the limited liability. The liability of the shareholders is limited to their stake only. The business can be sued by not involving any shareholders. Number of members, there is minimum requirement of 7 shareholders and can exceed any limit of number of members, as its share capital can be occupied by the citizens or anybody in general. Then comes continuous existence. The lifespan of a public limited company is not affected by the death of any member or any shareholder. It has huge capitals. The public limited company can relish an increased ability to raise capital through the stock market by issuing debentures and bonds from the public. A few examples of public limited company are Reliance Industries and Bharti Airtel. These are quite famous. You must have heard about them. Then comes the limited liability partnership, which I have explained previously. We'll just discuss the benefits. So, in a limited liability partnership, the liability of the partners is only limited till their business, and they do not have any personal liability. So, yeah, also it is easy process to start an LLP as compared to private company. Also, there are very less legal requirements as compared to the other structures. No limitation on the number of business owners. There can be 2 or more partners in this form of legal structure. Less registration cost. The cost of registration is lesser as compared to private limited company or public limited company. Then less compliance. What does less compliance means? It means that our LLPs are obligated to submit only 2 statements in a year, that is annual return statement and statements of account. No other statements or any licenses as per the business might be required, but nothing other than these are required. Therefore, the compliance requirement are comparatively less in private limited companies. There are a lot of limited liability partnerships. You must have heard about them. Then comes the partnership firms. In a partnership firm, two or more people come together to work and earn profits. There is a partnership deed that specifies the invested interest of each partner and their profit sharing ratios along with other terms of business functioning and operations. The partners are responsible for all liabilities. When it comes to the registration of a partnership, it is not mandatory but suitable to get it registered. This type of business structure provides the following benefits. First is the fundraising. It is easier to raise funds in a partnership as financial institutions consider them safer than sole proprietorship. Then the structure provides this structure provides for better accountability of the shareholders and enjoys a shared responsibility amongst them. Then comes there is a sense of trust and faith among partners in the partnership setup. All partners can act collectively or any one of the partners and act on behalf of others. A few examples of partnership firms are Hindustan Petroleum, Mahindra and Mahindra, Maruti Suzuki, Renault India, etc. All these are registered under the Indian Partnership Act. Then comes one person company. One person company is a company that has only one person as a member. This is a recent invention to facilitate entrepreneurs to own and manage companies alone. All the shares can be owned by one person, but there must be an additional nominee director to register the firm. The introduction of this concept of a company under the legal system is believed to not only cater to economic growth but also create a good amount of employment opportunities. Some benefits of choosing this structure are as follows. First one is payment of interest on any delay in payment. One person company can avail all benefits under Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Development Act 2006. One person company is either a small or medium entity. Therefore, in case of any delay of payment to the buyer or the receiver, they are entitled to receive interest thrice as much as the bank rate. The sole owner, only the owner is entitled to make business decisions and control the business without complying with the long process and measures as adopted by few other companies. Then comes through this structure, an individual can take a higher amount of risk in business without causing damage to personal assets. No personal assets are involved in this structure. A few examples of this structure are Truffle House and Akan Dairy. Yeah, so these are the six legal structures that are provided by the government of India under the various laws. And if one want to start their own business, then they must follow any one of this structure and get registered under that structure to to grow their business and to enjoy all the schemes that the government has formed for the startups. After that, we shall be discussing all the legal compliances for the startups. What do you mean by legal compliance? Legal compliance means there are laws made by the government for businesses and for the citizens, and in order to to carry out our business legally and in a profitable manner, to earn profit and to enjoy all the schemes and the perks that the government is giving, we must be compliant with the relevant laws. Now, what does the law says? We'll be studying. No slides shall be shared. If you guys want to note down anything or anything, then I'll be just talking, and maybe you can take your notes. Or in case if you guys require, I can provide you notes after the workshop also. So just here, what I'm saying. So first is license and permits. The startups may require various licenses, permissions, or permits to execute their ideas. As due to lack of legal knowledge, the startup may end up paying penalties and may even end up being unethical or illegal. The requirement of licenses, permits may vary from business to business. So, before starting a business, the person should be aware of the local laws, rules, and regulations. The other issue with respect to licenses is that Sometimes it is not much quick and easy to get licenses from the government authorities, and it requires a lot of time and money to obtain. Some of the licenses required by the companies are registration certificates, GST registrations, etc. If you are dealing with goods or services which requires licenses like alcohol or alcoholic beverages, electricity, guns, drugs, medicines, prohibited crops like marijuana or opium or tobacco, or food products or human organs, etc., without obtaining proper license from the concerned governing bodies, then you may attract criminal charges which may tend the businessman in jail, or suffer heavy finances and penalties. Also, for the smooth functioning of a business, should operate in such a manner that it should use its resources in productivity rather than in paying fines and penalties. Thus, it is mandatory that a business should get necessary permissions and permits from the concerned bodies before starting their operations. The benefits of obtaining registration is not limited to protection from legal hindrance, but it also benefits in availing various government schemes like MSME registration, which can help the startups to get subsidies in loans, taxation, and other schemes. A startup should get registration under the Startup India registration scheme. The registration process we'll be discussing further. Then after the licenses and permits, also, yeah, also for different businesses there are different licenses that the government has passed for, and one must before starting their business, one must look around and ask the not the authorities but the relevant people they are concerning to what license are there for their startups. After licenses and permits, the second thing that the startup should do are management of legal documents and agreements. What does this mean? It means a startup must be careful while drafting a contract as well as signing it. A startup goes through several contracts with suppliers, employers, and others. For purpose of reference, it would be idle for a startup, to go through the sample contracts available online of pre-existing companies, which may help them to draft a good contract. So a few agreements that the startups should consider are: first one is agreements with co-founders. The startups should make a proper deal with the co-founders partners in a written form so as to avoid any kind of dispute in the future, like what will be the distribution of profits, what will be the capital investment roles and responsibilities of the co-founders, percentage of ownership of each founder, how will the sale of business be decided, what will be the dispute resolution mechanism, what are the goals of the businesses, etc. Then second comes the confidentiality agreement. Confidentiality agreements are also known as non-disclosure agreements. They impose a duty on the parties that they will not disclose any secret information or idea of the firm to any outsider. The non-disclosure agreements should also state what will be the consequences in case of a breach. The startups should get into a confidentiality agreement with their employees, co-founders, or whoever holds the confidential information or idea of the startup in order to protect their ideas. After this comes a contract with various service providers. While making any contract with any service provider or supplier, the contract must be drafted carefully, and it should include all the major and minor details, which should include timing, quantity, quality, cost, etc. And it should also mention the jurisdiction in case of conflict. While drafting such contracts, the co-founders should keep in mind that they should keep their liabilities limited, and the contract must also state what will be the dispute resolution mechanism in case of any dispute arises. After that, one more agreement that is a very important agreement, and which is employment agreement. A startup should get signed on an offer letter with its employee while hiring, because hiring someone with any proper agreement may lead to this without any proper agreement may lead to disputes with respect to working hours, salary, etc. The employment contact must contain all necessary directions and information with respect to work, like what will be the office timings, what will be the salary, what is the job position, who will be the supervisor, terms and conditions for termination of employment, etc. After we have managed all the legal documents and agreements, then comes the advertisement and marketing. So, the advertisement and marketing are very important for any startup or any other forms of business, but advertising false claims, obscene, scandalous, or seditious advertisements may give rise to serious criminal penalties, and it may blow away the goodwill and reputation of a firm. And for startups, such mistakes may be like stepping over a small growing seedling. Some example of prohibited advertisements are: Tobacco Prohibition Act prohibits all kind of direct or indirect advertising of tobacco and tobacco products in all media. The safe the Food Safety and Standards Act prohibits advertising of infant formula in order to encourage breastfeeding of infants. Physicians are prohibited from advertising themselves under Indian Medical Council regulations. Likewise, legal services and legal professionals are also prohibited under rules of our Council of India to prohibit themselves. Then comes the prenatal sex determination services that are also prohibited under the Prenatal Diagnostic Techniques Act. Guns and other firearms, medical services, medical devices, religion related comparative advertisings, deceptive or misleading advertisings are also prohibited. Now, I would like to give a few examples here. Recently, you guys must have heard about Tanish. Tanish faced a lot of criticism for their ad. The criticism was for violation of ethical marketing norms for hurting the religious sentiments of the people. So here comes the religion, where the religious sentiments are concerned. If any religious sentiments are hurt in any advertisement, then that advertisement shall be banned. Then comes the another example of Mintra. The Mintra was forced to change their the appearance of M in their logo after an FIR was launched against it. The FIR was conveying that it marks an obscene. The M mark was obscene because it resembles a woman. After we have done our advertisement and marketing in compliance with the laws, then comes the data protection and privacy issues. Data protection and privacy. In the era of digitalization, everyone is using any kind of internet device, be it a smartphone or computers. Over that, the COVID-19 pandemic was like icing on the cakes for the field of digitalization, and many businesses, offices, MNCs, courts, almost every sector shifted their work to the online mode, which brings huge opportunities for the startups as well. In the digital world, privacy is a myth. Consider a real example. Suppose that if you download and log into HealthCart to check some supplements, you enter your phone number, address, name, etc., and check the terms and condition pop up even without reading it. Have you ever thought what happens to your details like your phone number, address, etc.? No, you don't. And then next time when you open YouTube or Google Chrome, you will get to see ads based on what you searched on health card. The startups and other e-commerce businesses record and use personal details, including the search history. The conclusion of this example is that the startup should not access the private details of the users without their permission, or they should not ask for the permission for which they are needed by their website or application. The startups should give importance to the privacy of the users. It could be done by drafting a privacy policy in a short, simple, or summarized manner, and also in regional language, so that before signing into any application, the user may easily read and understand the privacy policy and terms and conditions. The startup should also enter into an agreement with their users that they will not share or use the personal details of the users, which in turn will help the startup itself in gaining goodwill and trust of the people. In the privacy policy agreement, the startup should disclose what personal information is collected by the site, how the information will be shared or sold to the third party. Also, as of now, there is no data protection or privacy law in India, though it was, expected that the PDP bill shall be passed this year, but due to some issues, it couldn't pass. Let's see if it passes next year. Then all these things, the privacy policy and terms and conditions, and where our data is going, who all have access to our data, that would all these laws regarding the when all these laws will be prevailing, then it will become more necessary for, for the startups to get compliance with the data protection and privacy laws. Then comes protection of intellectual property rights. Now, intellectual property rights are like the heart and soul of any startup. Many startups face a common fear that their idea or plan could be stolen by someone. So it is important for a startup to protect their intellectual property rights on a priority basis. And the other issue is that the startup should also check that what they are planning to do or what they are planning to sell is already been protected, so that they may not face problems like trademark infringement or other IP violations after they invest in big sum of funds in their business. The requirement of intellectual property rights protection may be different from one startup to another. Startup should seek to protect the following intellectual property rights. First one is patent. In case a startup is dealing with any technical thing or a technical process of performing a thing, then it should go for product patent or process patent. The patent right is a negative right that will allow the patent owner to make exclusive commercial use of his invention and prohibits others from using it. Once a patent gets registered, the owner can make its exclusive use for the period of 20 years, and in case he ignores the patent registration, then anyone else can copy his idea, and which will subsequently use a negative effect on the business of the inventor by affecting their profit and goodwill. After patent, it comes copyright. The startup can get copyright of its software applications, magazines, articles, research work, or idea presented on paper or other literary or artistic work. It will forbid others from using his creation for the period of lifetime of the creator and 60 years after his death. After that, there comes trademark or service mark. The startups should be careful while deciding their trademarks that their trademarks or trade names should be easy to pronounce. It should be attractive, distinctive. International implications of the mark should also be considered. They should look for the mark they are deciding to choose on the IP India website, or simply by making a Google search. The startup should seek registration for a trademark or service mark either for used or proposed to be used. A trademark or service mark is an identity of a business or a service provider. It helps the customers to identify your goods or service in the market. After that comes the trade secrets. Trade secrets are the most important IP right held by an entrepreneur. A secret will not be secret anymore if it leaks and gets into the knowledge of many people. In order to protect trade secrets, the startup should enter into a confidentiality agreement or non disclosure agreement with their partners and employees. These are the legal compliances that a startup need. Other than that, there are some industry based compliance that a startup needs. Supposedly, if there is any startup supposedly, if it is a factory that produces lots of waste material, then they need to get compliance with the environment laws, that how will they be disposing their waste, and every necessary step that they are taking must be in compliance with the laws. If if they are not complying with the environment laws, then they'll have to pay heavy fines for it. After that, supposedly, also I've forgotten to mention it, but there are employment laws or maybe labor laws, and every startup must get compliance with the employment laws, and under employment laws comes the working hours and the which leave they call it, the maternity leave. All these must be mentioned, and all the companies must be in compliance with all the labor laws, because if you're not in compliance with the labor laws, then also you will and your employer files a suit against you, you will be in a big trouble. After that comes the government policies for startups. So government policies for startups, we will be discussing these policies under these heads: Startup India and India filings. And I would like to end the presentation here, and I will take you to these portals. Yeah, let me, just, yeah. Firstly, we will discover what is given in the Startup India portal. These are the portals made by the government of India for startups. Sorry, first we will be dealing with the India filing. Yeah, India filing portal. Yeah, so what does India filing portal says? India filing portal is for registering your own business. You do not need any. Obviously, you would need assistance, but if you are well versed with things, then you can do it on their own. Why to pay fee to other people? So the first thing that comes for any startup is the registration. So if we go here, it is given that we can, start up our. We can register our startup. We can opt for sole proprietorship, partnership, one person company, limited liability partnership, private limited company, public limited company. So let's see how to register a limited liability partnership. Yeah. uh, in the website, everything is mentioned very clearly. This is the checklist for registering an LLP in India. Everything is mentioned that you'd be there be minimum two partners. Also, you'd be requiring a digital signature certificate. You can get the digital signature certificate from this website only. See, it is given here. Arey, arey. You can get your digital signature from here. Also, other requirements would be DPN for all designated partners. The name of the LLP should be such that it is not similar to one of any existing LLP or trademark registration. And capital contribution by the partners of the LLP agreement between the partners, proof of registered office of the LLP. Now, how to register your LLP with India filings? These are the steps that you will have to follow for registering under LLP. These are the documents that you would be required: PAN card, DL or Aadhaar card, or bank statement or telephone bill. After that, uh, registered office proof. These are the advantages of LLP registration in India. Everything is mentioned on India on the site. Why you should prefer LLP over partnership, the cost registration, limited liability. Everything is mentioned on the sites. And then the memberships. Mm, There comes the two two plans that the government offers. One is a basic plan, and the other one is the standard plan. You can take either of them. and you can register yourself here. You can register it in state, you can register it in your city, wherever you want to. Similarly, it is for other, supposedly if we want to register a one person company. Same thing goes for this. This is the registration fees that you'll have to pay, and then you can register under it. Everything is mentioned, all the details that you would be needing. Then comes the, we can also talk about, the intellectual property registrations can also be done from this side. See, we have for trademark registration, copyright registration, design registration, patent registration. All these registrations you can do yourself. You can even register for GST. Here comes it. You can register yourself on your own. You can file your own returns. You don't need a lawyer or a CA for that. You can do all these things on your own. After registering, then comes, once you register yourself here, then comes the Startup India. For availing all the benefits that the government offer, you need to register. After registering your company, you need to register yourself on this platform as well. So how do you get yourself registered? So it is a DPPIT recognition for startups. If you are not DPPIT recognized startup, then you cannot avail the government policies. You need to be recognized under DPPIT. So what does DPPIT offers us? There would be a certification, then the benefits that one get are patent application, and there is exemption, or maybe there is the fees for registering patents is like you don't have to pay the 80% fees, only the 20% fees you have to pay. Then there is exemption in the taxes also. After that, you get all these benefits. You get winding up benefits also if you are registered under DPPIT. So how do you get yourself registered under DPPIT? You need to go here, click here, and all the procedure is given. Fill the form and submit for DPPIT registration. Other than this, a lot of schemes that the government has formed are mentioned here, and you can, after registering on Startup India portal, which is formed by Government of India, then you can go and see which all schemes are for you. There are almost 124 schemes under Startup India, and supposedly you want to, I'll just scroll down. Maybe after the workshop you can go and have a look at these schemes and see which one works for your startup. You must have heard about a few schemes. Also, the schemes keeps on changing. Like the government forms any scheme, and it is not for, some schemes are for a long duration, but most of the schemes are for a short span of time. So it is, it gets very difficult to remember all these schemes. But there are a lot of schemes, and you must go, if you want to avail any perks under these schemes, you must go on the Government of India sites and look for the schemes. Supposedly it is a scheme, a software technology park scheme. They have mentioned all the benefits and the highlights of the scheme herein. You can, just go through them. What is the eligibility, who are eligible for availing this scheme, what is the procedure of availing this scheme, what is the processing fees of the scheme, everything is mentioned. Also, there are several scheme policies also that the government has formed. I'll show it to you. So these policies under Startup India, the policies are as per the states. Supposedly we want to look for UP. We will these are the DPVIT recognized startups. These are the women led startups. We can just download the policy here from here and go through it, like what are the benefits that the UP government is giving to the startups. It was formulated in the year 2020. All right. So these are the benefits which people get under Startup India schemes. Also, there are a lot of benefits in terms of the finance assistance is there. Then there are schemes for that guides in marketing, and there are schemes that exempt you from taxes. MSME. We shall go through this site as well. There are a lot of schemes that have been provided under MSME also. See, the government has already sectioned all the schemes according to their heads. These are the schemes for development of khadi village and coir industries, then technology upgradation and quality certification. Then comes marketing promotion schemes, entrepreneurial and skill development schemes. Then comes infrastructure development schemes. These are under MSMEs. Supposedly, we go through this scheme. Let's go to this. Yeah. So on this website also, they have mentioned everything like what is the scheme and the a brief description about this scheme, who can apply, how to apply. You can just open this link and check. And in case you're a bit you don't know who to contact, then they have mentioned the contact numbers and the email IDs. You can reach out to these people at any time. So these are the we have other schemes as well, which you can go through. Also, there are schemes mentioned on the websites of Government of India and Ministry. Supposedly, you are a startup who who has the business of related to food. Then maybe you can go to the ministry that is for food and agriculture. And if you are a business that is for, if you are an edtech, then maybe you can go to the site of Ministry of Education Department or whatever it is called, and maybe look there for the schemes that are there. So I would like to end the session here. If you